Hey there, 8th graders, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be hanging out with you today as we dive into a total masterclass on transforming your rough, everyday draft into a truly powerful, convincing argument. You've already done the super hard work of getting your thoughts down on paper, right? But now is when the magic happens. Today, we're focusing on revising for persuasiveness and organization. We're going to take those raw ideas of yours and sharpen them until they literally shine.
Right off the bat, I actually want to reframe how we think about this whole process. Listen to this awesome truth from 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40. It says, "Let all things be done decently and in order." Sometimes we kind of treat revising like it's a punishment, like we're just fixing mistakes because we messed up the first time around. But honestly, no way. That couldn't be further from the truth. Revising is actually an incredibly powerful way to honor God. By structuring our thoughts and arguments with clear decency and order, we're reflecting His organized nature. When we revise, we aren't just correcting typos, we're refining our minds and our message. Okay, so here is our quick roadmap for today's lesson. First step, why we must revise. 2, checking your logical flow. 3, strengthening your evidence. 4, creating smooth transitions. 5, your action plan. And finally, 6, the godly learner philosophy.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, Why We Must Revise.
It's super important to understand that your first draft is rarely, if ever, perfect. And hey, that is completely okay. Honestly, a first draft is really just you telling the story to yourself. Revising is where you actually make it make sense for everybody else. You're reorganizing ideas, strengthening evidence, and ensuring your claim is fully backed up. Think of it like a messy bedroom. If you invite a friend over, they might literally trip over your shoes, or they won't even notice your cool stuff because of all the clutter, right? Well, organized writing is exactly the same. It clears out the clutter so your argument is incredibly easy to follow and your brilliant ideas can actually take center stage. So, what does this all mean for getting started? Like, what is the very first step you should take when revising your essay? Well, it's not grabbing a red pen. And actually, scratch that. It's not running spell check either. Here's the practical secret. You need to read your essay aloud. I want you to literally speak the words out loud in your room. Why? Because your ears are going to catch what your eyes completely miss. Hearing your own voice instantly highlights those clunky, awkward sentences or unclear ideas that you would have totally just glossed over if you were reading silently in your head. Moving right along to Section 2, checking your logical flow. When we look at the big picture, the macro structure of your essay, I really want to challenge you to check that every single paragraph has a clear topic sentence connecting back to your main claim. Let's walk through exactly how this step-by-step organization should look. First, you start with your claim. That's the foundation of your house. Then comes the evidence. Those are the bricks that build the walls. But bricks don't just hold themselves together, right? Which brings us to step 3, reasoning. This is the mortar that explains exactly how your evidence proves your claim. Then, since we are intellectually honest thinkers, we bring in step 4, the counterclaim. We acknowledge what the other side might say, but we definitely don't stop there. Step 5 is the rebuttal, where we expertly dismantle that counterclaim. And finally, step 6 is your conclusion, putting a solid roof over the whole house. This logical flow builds an incredibly solid foundation. If you jump around, your argument collapses. Gotta keep it in order. All right, let's jump into Section 3, strengthening your evidence. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing the sheer difference in quality between these two examples. Now that our house is built in the right order, we've got to look at our materials. As smart writers, we have to play our own worst critic to fix weak reasoning. Look at the weak version on the left. Recycling is good for the planet. I mean, sure, that's true, but it's kind of vague, right? It just doesn't pack a punch. Now listen to the stronger version on the right. Recycling reduces landfill waste, conserves natural resources, and decreases greenhouse gas emissions. Wow, do you feel the difference there? That is an absolutely amazing transformation from a weak, vague statement into powerful, precise evidence. When you revise, you gotta hunt down those vague sentences and swap them out for precise, concrete facts before your reader even has a chance to question you. Which brings us nicely to Section 4, creating smooth transitions. You can have the absolute best evidence in the world, but if your sentences just crash into each other, your reader is going to get whiplash. Transitions are basically like sturdy bridges that seamlessly guide your reader from one brilliant idea to the next. Let's look at another comparison here. Without a transition, it reads, "Uniforms are good, they make students equal." Sounds like a robot wrote it, doesn't it? It's choppy, It's isolated, the ideas just aren't talking to each other. But check out the improved version. In addition to promoting equality, uniforms create a sense of school community. Boom. That phrase, in addition to, is our bridge. It beautifully connects those isolated thoughts together and tells the reader exactly how the first thought relates to the second. That right there is the absolute hallmark of a mature 8th grade writer. Okay, time to get practical with Section 5, Your Action Plan. All right, we've talked a lot of theory, so now it's time for your assignment. I am empowering you right now to give your own draft a complete organizational makeover using this exact 5-step checklist. Ready? Step 1, identify and strengthen one weak sentence. Beef it up like we did with the recycling example. Step 2, add a transition between paragraphs so you build that strong bridge. Step 3, move a sentence to improve the flow. Because sometimes a sentence is great, it's just in the wrong spot. Step 4, replace vague words with super precise ones. And finally, step 5, remove one totally unnecessary sentence. Trust me, sometimes the bravest thing you can do as a writer is simply hit the delete key when something isn't adding value. Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 6, the Godly Learner Philosophy. Before we finish up today's explainer, I really want us to zoom out for a second. We've talked a whole lot about the mechanics of writing, right? But why does this actually matter for you as a person? Well, Romans chapter 8, verses 6 and 7 teaches us that keeping the mind spiritually minded leads to life and peace. As you learn to write persuasively, you're gaining a really powerful tool. You are learning how to influence folks, lead them through a logical argument, and change minds. But remember, true wisdom, that comes from God. If we just turn into sharp debaters without a spiritually minded focus, we completely miss the point. Keeping that spiritual focus is what ultimately brings life and peace to us and to everyone we communicate with. And that brings us right to the core of our philosophy. Here at HeroesMart Academy, we intertwine biblical morality with education because education without morality can actually hurt. Your knowledge and your intelligence should help you make wise, God-honoring choices rather than just making you more capable of arguing. I really encourage you to passionately pursue academic excellence, master those transitions, build those bulletproof logical flows, but do it while keeping your mind completely centered on God, truth, wisdom, and righteous choices. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought as you tackle your revising homework. How will you use your growing intelligence and these brand new persuasive writing skills to stand up for the truth in the world today? Get to work on those drafts, 8th graders, and I will see you next time.